Jerry Keegan, CTI, the Wireless Association, in opposition to this item. Whether it's the FDA, the FCC, or the WHO, all the impartial expert agencies that have looked at this issue have concluded that there are no known adverse health risks associated with cell phone use. Wireless devices sold in the United States must meet comprehensive regulatory standards before they can be marketed in this country. These devices are subject to the most stringent radio frequency emission standards in the world. The FCC has affirmed that the United States, quote, has the most conservative emission standards in the world. In fact, the FCC's RF standards for cell phones incorporate a 50-fold safety factor. The FCC holds that, quote, its safety factor can well accommodate a variety of variables, such as different physical characteristics and individual sensitivities, and even the potential for exposures to occur.
Thank you, sir. I have a question. There's a question for you.
So going back to the first part of your statement, there's no known health risks. Wouldn't it, don't you think it's implied that it would say after that, if used as instructed?
No, because as the FCC has said in an NOI published just last year, quote, the RF exposure standards does not necessarily, exceeding those standards, does not necessarily imply a safety concern. In fact, they've affirmed that exposure, quote, well above the limit should not create an unsafe condition, unquote.
Then why do they require, in very small print in the manual, those recommendations?
They don't require it. It's a guideline that's provided for carriers and manufacturers to show that the device has been tested in compliance with the FCC testing protocol.
I had a question. Another question for you. You know, the advisories being hidden in the fine print in the user manuals are heads up to consumers that manufacturers want them never to use their phone closer than a certain separation distance from the body. So why would you not want consumers to see this information?
The basis for the recommendation or the proposal is based on a misunderstanding of why those statements are in the manual.
No, it's lifted directly from the FCC and their guidelines and their regulations.
No, there's nothing in the FCC that says you can't keep this close to your body. In fact, in that NOI that I just stated, that the FCC NOI states that even the potential for exposures to occur in excess of our limits without posing a health hazard to humans, unquote. It's in my letter and it's documented.
Are you familiar with FCC document KDB 447498, General RF Exposure Guidelines?
Yes.
And what does that say?
I can't tell you verbatim.
Well, let me tell you what it says. It says users must fully be informed of the operating requirements and restrictions to the extent that the typical user can easily understand the information to acquire the required body-worn accessories to maintain compliance. That means the tests that they conducted were tested using holsters that separate that phone from your skin and the body contact with your torso. And it's telling you that as a manufacturer, you have a responsibility to ensure that the public easily understands the information. Now, I went back, well, can you respond to that?
Yeah, in the same NOI that was published in 2013, paragraph 251, regarding body-worn direct against the body, the FCC states, quote, we have no evidence that this poses any significant health risk, unquote.
Well, here it says that the General RF Exposure Guidance also says that all supported body-worn accessory operating configurations must be clearly disclosed to the users through conspicuous, not hidden, conspicuous instructions in the user guide and user manual to ensure unsupported operations are avoided. That means that they're recommending and instructing you to ensure that people know that they have to separate that phone from their body a certain distance using these devices that separate it from your body. So, I mean, what you're saying is very understandable given your perspective and outlook on this, but it doesn't comport with the FCC's regulations, nor the experience of people who have researched this over and over again and are operating in the public interest to try to give them enough information so that they can make wise decisions about the usage of these phones. So I don't want to get into a long debate.
Let him
Can I just respond to that
another
very
question
quickly? Since 2001, the FCC has recommended that that language be provided to consumers. Manufacturers have provided that language to consumers, again, to show that the device has been tested in application with the FCC testing protocol. The FCC, which provided the guidelines, if they felt that manufacturers were not appropriately providing that information to consumers, they would change the guidelines. They have yet to do that. Just last year, as I said, they opened a notice of inquiry and asked these types of questions of consumers. And those who are here, many of them submitted comments into that proceeding and reply comments. The FCC is looking at this issue. And what we would say is allow the FCC to continue its work. If they believe that manufacturers are not appropriately providing that information, then they may come with a point-of-sale disclosure similar to what's being proposed here. But I would allow that process to work out so the experts who know and have studied this issue can determine whether a point-of-sale disclosure is appropriate.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, please.